Hello folks, Mink here to record an intro for Ultima 9 Ascension. I normally don't do this kind of thing, but for this game I feel I have to, just because of the reputation and history that the game has. And my opportunities to record sessions are limited, and the ones I do get are almost non-existent. Which is why my playthrough of Planescape Torment is kind of on hold. I don't know when, if ever, that will pick up. I hope it does, but I'm not looking good. Anyway, I don't blame you at all if you decide to skip this and just go right to the gameplay. I would probably do the same thing myself, so feel free. But Ultima. I do not have a history with Ultima, like a lot of people. My first Ultima game, for example, was Ultima 9. I never made it very far. I never even cleansed one shrine. So, I have no idea how bad the game... Well, I had no idea how bad the game was, or how good it was, because I didn't know. It wasn't until all this stuff started popping up on the internet to say all this stuff about the game. And even then, I probably wouldn't have known because I don't know anything about Ultima at all. It wasn't until I was able to read some stuff, watch videos about what people had to say about them. I never even watched a Let's Play to this day of any Ultima game at all. So my history with Ultima is almost non-existent. So you would think this game would be made for me, right? Because it's almost like it's tailored for somebody who is new to Ultima and doesn't know what any of this stuff is. We'll get into that later, but anyway, the game itself, I will say it's not as bad as people say, in my opinion, but again, my history with Ultima is a thing. But I don't think it's terrible. It is bad. Don't take me the wrong way. The game is bad. But I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people say. Like the seamless world, I think, is fantastic. Amazing for the time. 1999 is when this game was released. At the time, every single game had zones, as we call them. You know, you'd run like 200 feet or so, you'd hit an invisible wall, you'd have a loading screen to load the next zone. And that went on for however many you needed. To get into a dungeon, you had to load a zone. Sometimes in the dungeon there were multiple zones to load different sections of the dungeons. A popular example would be EverQuest, a game which I played back in the day. It had zones. Ultima 9 doesn't have any. There is not a single loading screen at all in the game. And I think that's amazing for the time. Just think about it. That's fantastic. I mean, it's a shame that the world is as small as it is. But from what I understand in reading, I don't remember where I read it, which is a shame, but that they scaled the world back in order to hit the release date. And that kind of sucks, because I would have loved to see the seamless aspect on a larger scale. That would have been mind-blowing for the time. I mean, I think it already almost is. It's fantastic. That's not completely seamless. When you're going into a dungeon, there is a little hitch, but there is no loading screen. That's amazing. The music is great. Every town has 2 themes. One before you cleanse the shrine and one for after. And both of them are fantastic. It's an amazing soundtrack. You can even listen to it on its own, and I think it's amazing. Like, one of my favorites is Buccaneer's Den. That track is amazing. You, I think, has 2 great songs, both for pre-cleanse and post. I think they're fantastic. And I had the Dragon Edition back in the day I don't know if every edition came with this, but the Dragon one came with the soundtrack. Not all the songs are there, which is a shame, but it's good to just pop in and listen to. I mean, yeah, it's not anything, like heavy metal or rock, which is what I'm into, but it's still good to listen to. The composer, great job. Hats off. I loved it. Loved the music. The graphics aren't terrible for the time. I can't think back to know if they're anything spectacular for the time, but they're not bad. But then again, I like a lot of retro titles and old games, and I don't think these look bad at all. The facial animations are a little strange at times, like Lord British has the Dr. Wily eyebrow waggle thing going when he talks. But the graphics aren't bad. I like them well enough. But then you start getting into the things that people love to talk about, like shopkeepers on furniture. You'll walk into their shop and they're standing on their countertop, which is admittedly quite distracting every time it happens. Kind of takes you out of the experience, But it's not only the shopkeepers. Sometimes enemy AI will be they'll be on the side of a steep hill, and for whatever reason that prevents them from getting down from that hill. So they can't attack you in their run forward and attack, which is like the only programming they have. But I think those are little nitpicks. The economy is kind of messed up. I think it's really easy to hit 9,999 gold and cap out, which is a shame, because I think that makes looting seem not as fun. But I like looting, so I do it anyway. Eventually I'll start hoarding gems in my room in Lord British's castle. You'll see that. Potions are similar. I don't know who in the world would need that many yellow potions, but wow. Especially when you unlock the first circle of magic. That gives you access to a light heal spell, but they still bombard you with yellow potions. I don't know why. I guess to make you be able to use other spells, maybe? I don't know. I think it would have been, I don't know, they could have scaled back the potions. Wait until you see my potion collection increase as time goes on in the run. It's almost laughable to think about. The memory leak still exists in the game today. Hasn't been fixed. So if you're playing for a prolonged period of time, eventually the game will crash. It might take it a while because the memory in computers today has increased, but over time it will crash. The game that you see sometimes when I save, called Adventure 2, that game crashed on me once or twice. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. But that's minor. That's all the minor stuff. Eventually you will notice plot holes, even with limited knowledge about Ultima. Because you'll eventually run into Samhain, the Pirate Lord, who somehow has the Codex of Ultimate Wisdom. You ask him how he got that book, and it's just hand-waved away. Oh, you don't need to worry about that. I'm a collector. I get things. You don't need to. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry. Just, don't worry. We need to worry. We need to be told how he got that book. We're never told. Because even with limited knowledge of Ultima, if you visited the museum in Britain, you see an object. I think it's called the Vortex Cube or Vortex Stone or something. And it says it was used to send the codex into the void. You can't say the developers forgot, because then why put that there? But then to have a pirate of all people, somehow get it out of the void and just not tell... I can see why people were insulted by this. I'm not as insulted, I guess, because I don't have an attachment to Ultima, but it still annoys me. And then later, you learn that the Gargoyle Queen is upset and mad because the codex was taken out of the void. They didn't forget. They just chose to not tell you. And that's the worst part of it. But then you have the dialogue, which I admit, it's almost bad just being there. I try to avoid what questions I can, but I'm sure my limited knowledge of Ultima doesn't prevent me from avoiding all of them. Like some of the earliest examples are asking who the gargoyles are. And then right after that, you're asking what the Codex of Ultimate Wisdom is. I think Spoonie put that one best when he said that's like the Pope asking what the Bible is. That is a fair analogy, because that is the basis for the Avatar's whole being. Yet one of the options in the game is to ask what the Codex is. And I know that was designed for new players who had no idea what Ultima is. Like me, it's designed for me because I don't know a thing about Ultima. But that still bugs me greatly. That is bad. I don't know how they couldn't have thought of a better way to introduce new players to the world of Ultima and explain all this crap. Because they had to have done it in the past, right? They had to have. Or didn't they? And just assume everybody knew everything about Ultima. I don't know. I would hope that they did somehow, otherwise everybody's left hanging. Oh, what the hell was that? But anyway, all of them, even the plot holes, are small potatoes compared to the crashing. You know, the game didn't crash a lot on me, so I was having fun with it. Despite all the nitpicks, despite the plot holes, I was still having fun. But then I got the Moonglow. And I don't know what it was about Moonglow and talking to Titus. The first time I talked to him to get the location of the first cave, it crashed 5 times. 5! 2 of those were full runs of exploring the entire town of Moonglow. Because I thought, you know, it crashed once, like, oh, that's interesting. This game does that sometimes. Then it crashed after the second, and that was annoying. So that's why I saved right before talking to him, and there's that edit there, because I stopped the recording and then started it up. And then it crashed 3 more times. 3! So I had to explore the entire town of Moonglow twice. I had to go through that entire Titus conversation 5. 6, actually, for the successful run. It's bad. The game itself makes you not want to like the game. It's because you're trying to like it. You're actually somewhat liking it, whether it's good or not. And then that gets lumped on you. The location of the second cave crashed another 4. Going in that cave, I don't know why, but that crashed twice. Like I said, the game itself makes you not want to like it. And then at the end of that, there was an error trying to save the game. Oh. You have no idea what kind of panic I was going through at that point. Because I was like, oh dear God, I'm going to have to play all this shit over again. But then, by some miracle, it managed to save. Oh, thank God. But then you go to U. That's not bad. It's not great either, because Wrong is like a stealth mission in a not stealthy game. And to top that off, you have some guy coughing in your ear. I don't know whose idea that was, but holy God. To have somebody coughing in your ear as you're going through a dungeon. Like I said, the game itself makes you not want to have fun. Going back to Moonglow, I forgot. That slow-ass ship to get to the Lyceum, that flying ship. Oh, God. That is an enjoyment sucker right there, because that thing is so slow. It's unbelievable. But anyway, you go through all that, you're having relative fun. Then you get to Covetous. You thought the crashing couldn't get any worse. Moonglow was bad. Then you get to Covetous. I don't know what the hell is up with that dungeon. Oh. That's why there are so many edits when I'm going through that. Because it crashes every 5 minutes or so. Like, oh my God. I know release dates had to have been met. They rushed the game out. Fix Covetous after you release it. Oh, because I think, looking back at the footage that I have, I think it looked like it could have been okay. Would have been fun. Skeletons are one of the more interesting enemies in the game at this point. But, wow. And it's only the first 2 floors for some reason. Because once I hit the 3rd floor, the game stopped crashing. Covetous didn't crash on me a single time. The 3rd and 4th floor were fun. So much fun to run through. I'm still in disbelief about that. But I still treated it like it could. So all the edits are still there. All the saves are still there. Because I didn't know when it was going to crash again, or if it was going to crash again. So I was having fun at the end of Covetous, and then to be able to cleanse the shrine after that and get sucked into Terfin. The game is trying to pull me back in, and I don't know how to feel about that, because I am very sure that I'm going to hit a point again in the game where it's just going to kick me right back out. But anyway, I think I'm going to stop there, because I'm starting to run out of things to say. But again, I don't think the game is as bad as people say it is. It is bad. Again, don't take me wrong. The game is bad. But it's not that bad. At least when it works. When it crashes, that's when it's bad. That's when it's bad. But anyway, you don't have to hear my voice at all for the entirety of this run, so enjoy that. Maybe I'll see you at the end to give my final thoughts, because as of right now, I just finished Terfin. So, from what I understand, I'm roughly halfway through, so we'll see. But, until then, this is Mink. Goodbye.